Hello, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, all my subscribers. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I want to thank you so much for your support and for your encouragement. I recently posted my apostate poetry. That's right, I went to a poetry open mic night and I did a poem about the Jehovah's Witnesses. I've got one more to go. I'm going to go back next month and do it. I hope you enjoyed it. I know a lot of you did, and really touched me. Thank you very much. I'm trying to switch up my videos a little bit, make them a little bit more authentic to me. I've been trying to be all things to everyone and not offend anyone, and there's a place for that, and I'm not trying to offend you, but I gotta be me. I gotta be me. So, this video, if it insults you, it's intended to, Jehovah's Witnesses. If it offends you, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, it's not intended to do that. But let's start. Jehovah's Witness parents, how fucked up are your kids? I know. You're seeing them there. They're out there in their little suits. They've got their little ties on, and they look like the businessmen and women of tomorrow, don't they? They look so neat and tidy, and all the grandparents want to pinch their cheeks and kiss their faces and rub their heads. And I remember one time on service, somebody gave me £1. Do you know what my mum made me do with that pound? Put it in the contribution box. Oh, bitch, please. She did. She made me do that. It was ridiculous. But we're not going to hold it against you, Mum. You know I love you. How effed up are your kids, Jehovah's Witnesses? Let's find out. This comes from one of the Jehovah's Witness forums, and the subject is irrational Armageddon plans. Almost all children, and all effed up in the head. I think those of us. Oh, hang on a second. Let's go. Yes, I think those of us that were raised Jehovah's Witnesses, Armageddon was a constant feature in every aspect of our lives. Who of us can't recall vivid nightmares as fire and sulfur poured down from heaven? No doubt that's left some psychological scars. Yes, it has. I still feel that prepper mentality. I'm always worried about the end of the world. Maybe you feel the same way. Especially when the economy dipped in 2008. You know, I went on a big bender, not a bender of drinking, but a bender of prepping for the end. And couldn't stop myself, I suppose. And that was what really led me to making these videos, after a few years, just realizing how screwed up my own head was. As a child, I recall that they were really bizarre plans. I personally loved my original Nintendo. I would spend hours playing video games with it. Anyway, I had a Armageddon Nintendo Survivor plan all arranged. Should things start to go down, I had a spot picked out in my backyard where I could bury my Nintendo and games to avoid the sure destruction that would come to them. I rehearsed this plan on numerous occasions to make sure that I would be prepared. I often felt guilty about this plan since we weren't supposed to be hanging on to material possessions, but my Nintendo wasn't something I was prepared to give up. What other irrational and ridiculous plans did you have? Now, that's such a cute plan, isn't it? But I remember, I've done this video, not this video, but I've spoken about this before. But I remember as a child, we were walking at the RDS assembly in Dublin, and there'd just been a talk given about how the Jehovah's Witnesses had been treated by the Nazis during World War II. Of course, they didn't point out that that the American Bethel had been kissing Hitler's ass for 3 or 4 years up to that point. But anyway, they pointed out how the Jehovah's Witnesses were treated, specifically how children were taken off their parents. I suppose I was about 7 years old, maybe even about 8, 7 or 8, and they told us about this, and they said you have to prepare for this. And I remember walking through these gardens at the RDS assembly, holding my dad's hand, looking up to him. Dad, what are you going to do when they take us off you? And my dad was like, well, whatever, Neil. And I was fucking terrified. I was terrified for years that I was going to be taken off my parents. And even when I had children of my own, I was always afraid that there was some sinister state agency was going to find a reason to take my kids off me. And it's always been a nervous thought for me even today. And that's where it was embedded. It was embedded by these sick bastards telling me that men were going to come at night and steal me from my daddy. And it's true. Not very funny, but fuck me. This is why we don't tell kids horror stories. This is why we don't make children watch Freddy Krueger or Aliens or zombie movies, because children don't know it's not real. This is child abuse. And it's fucking mental. Every, dear me, even well into my adult, I would always think, wear comfortable shoes. If Armageddon comes today, you might be wearing these shoes for quite a while. But I remember being in my late teens or early 20s and I loved skiing. I had a pair of skis I saved up for and bought. They were my first pair of new skis. Oh, I love those skis. I think you love skiing. I remember thinking if there was a fire, I'd grab those skis, nothing else. I remember actually worrying that I would turn into a pillar of salt if I looked back longingly at my skis during Armageddon. I gave myself private counsel for being overly attached to earthly possession. Man, I love those skis. We get it. You love your skis. Then I think how I could get those skis into the new system. Would there be ski lifts in the new system? Your mind can go on forever with crazy thoughts like that. It is. And he says, anyway, it's ridiculous. And I still love skis. Tell me what you did to those skis if you're the person who wrote this. I want to know. I want to know what happened to those skis, man. Hope you buried them at sea or give them a Viking funeral or something. But it's true. Even the small things, they get perverted into the Jehovah's Witness crazy mindset. Super Nintendo, my kids were brought on it. We did a prep for the big Armageddon. We still have water purification tablets and axe, waterproof matches, iodine, tent, etc. Yeah, well, this will come from the whole new Jehovah's Witness bug out bag thing. And I can only imagine how a 5 or a 6-year-old feels now when they're doing prep in a kingdom hall for Armageddon, when they're being told that bad men will come and steal your kids. When the reality is that Jehovah's Witness parents are such bad parents for doing this shit that they should have their children taken off them in the first place. Oh, dear me. I never even considered trying to save any of my treasured personal possessions because I was so brainwashed by the JWs. I actually believed that if I buried any of them for later, one of the angels from heaven would certainly burn them right there in the hole in the ground for sure. I remember when I was little hearing about having to go underground. I took it very literally and started digging a hole in the backyard to be ready. I never explained what I was doing to my family and never did get too deep. Well, one of the reasons I'm making this video is because I read this comment. And confession time, I did this. Yes, I did. If you're in Lisburn in your life and you go to 26 Causeway End Park and you walk into the tiny bit of treed area behind 26 Causeway End Park, you will see a divot in the ground about 4 foot deep. You may wonder what that divot is. That divot was my Armageddon bunker. It's true. It's true. And then one day, I was like getting ready for bed. It was like 8 o'clock, and the kids next door to us, they were shitty kids. They did never go to bed, on time. And I could hear one of them shouting, "I found a big hole!" And I thought, the bunker has been compromised. It's true. It's true. And I ran out, and they were like, "I found a spade. I found a shovel. I found a torch." I'm like, "Give me back my stuff." It's true. And the plan? The plan was, right, because it actually backed off this little bit of ground onto a road. And what I was going to do was, because I don't have wood. I'm 8 or 9. Just give me a break. I don't know how to support a tunnel. I can't build a tunnel. So what I was going to do is I was going to dig down about 6 foot. I got to about 5 feet before I found out. And then I was going to go sideways underneath the road, mind, right? Because I figured that the tarmac would form some kind of protective unit above my head when I was in my bunker. So I would make a big hole under the dual carriageway with the 2 cars driving at 60 miles an hour, because that'd be perfectly safe. That lorries and trucks drove over, and I would sit there waiting for the end and practicing for it in my bunker. And then one day a lorry would fall through and crush me, and people would go, "Holy crap, what did he do that for?" And no one would know. Now you do. I knew I wouldn't survive. That was terrible. Not being good enough at all. My plan was a pre-Armageddon one. I prayed to whatever deity there was to help me get laid before 75. As it turns out, neither event happened in 1975. I was much more concerned about the Great Tribulation, which I had been assured would be like the Holocaust, exactly, but worse, like the Holocaust on steroids, the Ubercost. My plan was to live in a plastic box under the bed and wait it out. I wasn't quite sure how logistics would work out on that, but I figured it would be okay. I was 5 or 6. Now, serious point for a second, okay? Anybody who's never been a Jehovah's Witness, who stumbles on this video and gets to this point, tell me what you thought about the end of the world when you were 5 or 6. Tell me if you had been planning to live in a cardboard or a plastic box under your bed to avoid the Great Tribulation. Jehovah's Witnesses, this is how fucked up your kids are. This is what they're doing at night. Instead of dreaming about being doctors, they're planning to withstand Armageddon. Get out if you love your kids. Ay, ay, ay. There were 2 half-baked plans that combined into one. I'm intrigued. Let's find out more. I would need to get my coat on quickly when Armageddon started. Well, of course you would. It's going to rain. It's going to rain sulfur. Make sure it's an asbestos coat, though. To hide the cat underneath it, because animals might not be saved. Aye, that's right. I remember there was always a big discussion, will animals be saved? This evolved into a raincoat because I kept hearing about the 1,000-year reign. The mind of a child, eh? And this poor Gargamel person who wrote this, quite recently, was trying to save an animal from Armageddon. And it's the mind of a child. You shouldn't need to think like that when you're a child. You know? This is why I don't tell my kids about, experiences I've had in life or bad things that have happened to me, because I don't want them to think about bad things. I want them to be as happy as possible for as long as possible. Jehovah's Witnesses don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to have good childhood memories. They want to inculcate doom and death and destruction into your life. And it's pathetic. Someone was going to have to make beer on the other side. So I learned how to home brew because of Armageddon. That was cool. Yes, it is. I think maybe you're a little bit of an adult though at that point. Oh, dear me. For me, I never really had any Armageddon plans, although I noted that most of the congregational members had prepared survival packs, that's the new rules, filled with food, water and other necessities. I don't know where they got this from, while still believing it was the truth. I never made one myself, I just couldn't see the logic. If God is supposed to have faithful servants, would my life and safety be dependent on a small backpack? Fair point. However, this was of course something I never told anyone. And when it became a talking point, I quickly changed the subject. Of course, because even then you're not allowed to have your own opinion. The governing body saith you must put filtered water in a backpack, so you better do it. Better do as you're told. If God wanted to save me, he would. If he didn't want to, he would not. And I was a kid, so of course, plans had to be made. It would be with my parents. But I never really believed in the whole Great Tribulation for everyone. Like usual, I thought God would be partial and racist. The Great Tribulation would hit hard the same people. It always does, people in Haiti, Africa and so forth. Nothing new. No calamity ever happens where I was from. No earthquake, no typhoon, nothing ever. I'm not complaining. Once we had a mountain that fell on people. It killed 3 people. Each life is important, but everyone in the country was distraught. So I was always believed I was somewhat safe. And I made this in the last video. I'm going to finish with this because it's just the stupidity of the child. And again, it's the abuse the child receives with these mental images. But I remember wondering how God was going to save us all. Was he going to beam us up? No, because we're earthbound. So I thought perhaps that the first thing we would do would be to get to the Kingdom Hall. Well, how do you get to the Kingdom Hall in the Great Tribulation? Everything's fucked up. It's the disaster. People are, cats and dogs are eating each other and, people are just monsters. So what I thought is that we would have to walk to the Kingdom Hall and God would provide these tunnels, like glass tunnels, which no one could get through, not despite their boom, 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 let me into your glass tunnel. No! I got my hours out last night, or my last month. I'm in the tunnel, I'm walking to the Kingdom Hall. And it would be like, if you've ever seen Futurama, all the glass tunnels that go around the city, it would be like that. And we would all walk through our various glass tunnels, and we would get to the Kingdom Hall, whether it be a larger, portable, circular glass half dome, and we would live inside the half dome temporarily. And then, Armageddon would happen, everyone would die, the crows would peck the eyes out, that would help us with the cleaning bodies. And then they would magically disappear and we would walk to wherever there was a bit of a green park and start paradise. See, I thought that because as a 9-year-old, that's normal, isn't it? Yeah, that's what 9-year-olds do. Jehovah's Witnesses, if you've seen this video, I'm enjoying this video and I think it's a pretty good one. If you're seeing this video, this is what you do. This is what your kids are like. I'm 41 years old now and I'm clearly still pretty fucked up. Let's be honest about it. If you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and I can imagine you are too. And the worst thing is, and I'm not dissing anybody who didn't take it all that seriously or who left when they were 15 or 16 or something, because they still got a lot of it. But I think that the true believers, which I foolishly was, I think the true believers, they got the bulk of it, the brunt of the abuse. And shit, we did not do well from it, did we? Well, listen, guys, thank you very much. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, I think you get the message. You're a bad parent, okay? You're a terrible parent. If you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness who did this to your kids, that sucks. That sucks. It really does. I don't even talk to my mum about it anymore. She's an ex-Jehovah's Witness too. And, I don't think she wants to feel guilty anymore, so I don't really bring it up to her. I don't think it's fair because at the end of the day, she can't go back and change it, and nor can you. And for a time machine, eh, guys? Wouldn't that be nice? Thanks very much. Thank you for watching The Great Apostate. Like and subscribe.